Here, hey, go to the clinic or go to Planned Parenthood to get that cleaned up or taken care of. That's what it's all. It's to help keep the whole promiscuity thing going, folks, because there's money in that. There's big money from the hookups. What is it? What is a grinder? Look. I guess there are. Well, not I guess. I know that there are sexual orientated preference sites. And there's all kinds of crap. There's hookup sites for straight couples and for same sex people, and there are swinging apps out. For swingers, there are apps out there for that, I guess. And there's it's just if you just Google this stuff, you would think that the United States is probably the most depraved country that the planet has ever seen. But you would be wrong, because this type of stuff is worldwide. And many of the largest or biggest or most popular hookup sites are in many different countries. And they're language specific. Even for Asia is starting to see this type of thing that they never saw before, and it's blowing their. Well, that's why some of these countries are trying to lock down their internet service and cut Google out and cut Facebook out and cut. Facebook is actually kind of becoming a hookup site for the younger set, for teens. I know the whole. We've seen the stats that teen sexual activity is down, but there's a misnomer again. The research thing. Yeah, teens are not having intercourse like they used to. The intercourse sex is down, which means teen pregnancy is starting to drop. That's a good thing. The bad thing is that teen-related STDs are on the rise because teens are having the sexual relations that don't involve intercourse. So you figure out what they're doing. And I know some parents are probably like, oh my God. I thought Jimmy wasn't having sex. Jimmy's having sex. Well, I hate to scare you parents of Jimmy, but Jimmy might not be having sex with the daughter next door. Jimmy might be having sex with the boy down the street. Just saying. Because that's considered to be safe. That's safer sex. It's not really safe or safer. But, if your son is having an affair with another boy down the street, well, nobody's going to get pregnant. Same with if your daughter's having an affair with the girl, down the street. Well, neither one of the girls are going to get pregnant. But this is what Planned Parenthood is for, is to clean this stuff up. And here from NPR.org, what you had, I know some people are going to say, what the hell is Rod talking about? What is he? What's the remember the Dr. Ruth? Is this the Dr. Ruth show or something? Look, folks, this is the stuff that's happening. This is stuff that you have to understand and know, because it's going to get to it always gets to a point where somebody just decides, in order to try to stem the tide of the depravity, we got to make a law. And then this is how we get all kinds of stupid, invasive, intrusive, freedom-killing laws. Because somebody decides, this is getting out of hand, we got to do something about it, so the only thing we can do about it is make a law. This is stuff you got to know. But Planned Parenthood revenue sources. Their biggest source of revenue for Planned Parenthood comes from government. This is from NPR. Their next biggest source of revenue is from private sources. And then their next big, their government sources are over $528 million are provided to Planned Parenthood from government sources. Private sources provide another $392 million. Are you getting these numbers down? By the time is all said and done, we're talking over $1 billion. But non-government services give the organization another $300 million. And other revenues. Now, I don't know what other revenues could possibly mean for Planned Parenthood, but other revenues come in in the neighborhood of $78 million. Now, this is what NPR, breaks this down as what their services are for the fiscal year of 2013-2014. 42% of their services are for STIs and STDs, sexually transmitted infections and sexually transmitted diseases. And look, that didn't used to be that way. Yeah, it was always big, but it didn't used to be, that number didn't used to be that high. And the reason is it's on the rise. You know, there are certain sexually transmitted diseases and infections that are on the rise because, in part, due to these hookup sites are so prevalent and so popular. And this whole notion that, well, health classes in high school, hey, have safer sex, kids. Experiment. You don't have to have, traditional male and female sexual intercourse because that can lead to pregnancy. But there's all kinds of other sexual intercourses that you could have and do and practice and, without getting pregnant. That won't even lead to the possibility of pregnancy. So nobody will ever find out. You keep it to yourself. That's why I said, you better check on Jimmy sometimes because he might be having some fun with Danny down the street. Or whatever your kid's name is and their best friend or what, friend or not friend. If all of a sudden your son's got a new friend, you might want to ask questions. They hang out a lot. If he's always been around, well, even, maybe I watch too many movies or something. I don't know. But anyway, STDs treatment accounts for about 42% of the services that Planned Parenthood provides. So it doesn't need to be Planned Parenthood. Anybody, any clinic, your doctor, what have you, emergency room could even treat this stuff. Contraception. In case your kids are straight, 100% straight, and want to have sex with the opposite sex, 34% of that goes for contraception. Other women's services, 11%. Now, I don't know what other women's services are since they don't provide things like pap smears and mammograms and things, but cancer screenings they do. But their cancer screenings are very limited, and that's only 9% of the services that they offer. Abortion services are 3%. But that's also misleading because abortion revenue accounts for more than 50% of Planned Parenthood's revenue. So they may only provide about 3% of their total services. But hey, you're giving a kid a STD shot or cream or something. It's not that much as far as cost is concerned. Where the big money is obviously in the abortion factories. I'm telling you, folks, this is not our government. Look, if the Planned Parenthood is like any other, private health, and they're supposed to be a private health organization, so why are they getting all this big, huge funding from government services? Like I said, New Hampshire, they've just voted because of all this stuff with the 5 videos that have been released that they've decided on the state level they're going to give Planned Parenthood a vasectomy, cut them off. Good thing. In my book. Yeah, that's some, people may say that New Hampshire is being a little bit brave, but $800,000, over 800, that's just insane. Never, ever should our government even think about supporting such a thing. Hey, quickly, folks, there is something else that came across my feed that I wanted to share with you, and I think this is a little disturbing. It's very disturbing. Now, and the disturbing thing about it is, well, I know it's from worldtruth.tv, but you gotta, when you take into account some of the other sources that sort of back this up, you have to understand that this is quite alarming. Now, most of us are probably very familiar with, random DWI checkpoints. And in most municipalities, they advertise that they're going to have a DWI checkpoint, at least about a week in advance. I know they do around here in New Hampshire. Yeah, they don't tell you the street that it's going to be on, but you usually can figure it out because it usually has to be something that's worth, a street or an area that it's fairly high traffic, or else they're not going to really catch anybody. So you can, and depending on the town, you can usually figure out the road that they're going to be, that this stop is going to be on. Because they tell you in about a week in advance. This coming weekend, expect a DWI checkpoint. They don't tell you where, but in most communities, you can kind of figure out where it's going to be. So we're kind of used to that. We've been conditioned to expect that. Now, I know there have been all kinds of YouTube videos and everything about people challenging this thing and not really cooperating and saying that this is a illegal search and seizure and that kind of stuff. And I know that there have been some court cases, and in some cases, people have won based on this type of thing. It really, I guess, is going to depend on the judge that you have and in your state's laws. But there are people that have won that are based on that argument that it was an illegal search and seizure and you didn't consent to it. Because you're innocent until proven guilty, but the DWI check is assuming that you're guilty and that you have to prove your innocence, and that's not the way our system works. So we've been conditioned. I know a lot of people just automatically just comply because we're told to comply with the cops. Whatever they ask you, you have to answer. Well, true or not true, it doesn't really matter. The whole point is that we've been conditioned to accept it. And now something new is popping up. Federal contractors have been setting up roadblocks in cities across the country with this specific purpose of collecting your DNA sample. The multi-million-dollar federal program has been disturbing drivers and alarming civil libertarians. Now, I wouldn't call myself a civil libertarian per se, but I got to tell you that raises red flags for me all over, and alarm bells and everything else. For me, really, they want, but it's you would think, okay, maybe they're just trying to catalog U.S. citizens. Well, first of all, there's they could do it a different way if they really wanted to. But here is the real insidious purpose behind this. And how they're doing it. Now, the checkpoints consist of uniformed agents, not cops, but uniformed agents. And these uniformed agents are blocking public roads and flagging drivers into a testing area or a parking lot. The drivers are then requested to submit a saliva or blood sample to the federal government. Now, I'd like to be able to hear that conversation. Hey, how would you like to give a DNA sample to the federal government? Now, the roadblocks were part of a study orchestrated by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The agency contracted the Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation, based in Maryland. But they're called the Pacific Institute, based in Maryland. Yeah, go figure that one out. To perform the roadblocks. Now, the program it's costing taxpayers money. $7.9 million over 3 years, according to NBC News in Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, the agency confirmed that the operation is currently being launched in 30 different cities, but they wouldn't say what those cities, or name those 30 cities. They said just 30 cities. Wouldn't you like to know if it's coming to your city? I'd like to know if they're doing it down in Boston. But, just wait until you find out when we get back from the break exactly what they're doing with this stuff.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible